So tickets go on sale tomorrow for Gold Card members to Forest Green. Laurie, what can they expect when they arrive? I expect the tickets will sell out. It's not a great allocation, really, is it? It's not a huge stadium, obviously.
Yeah, it's just about 5,000 the capacity, and not entirely sure what the away numbers are. You'll probably know better than me, but yeah, I think Ipswich fans can expect to experience different to anything else they'll probably get all season. There's Forest Green is based on top of a hill, about probably a mile up the hill from Nailsworth, which is the nearest sort of village with a few pubs in, and then it's about 5 miles away from Stroud, which is the nearest town, which has a train station, a Wetherspoons, or your sort of basic away day needs, I guess. So yeah, it's very remote. My advice would be don't get up to the ground too early, because there's nothing to do up there.
Is there really nothing there at all?
No, there's a village shop sort of just sort of around the corner from the new lawn, but it's just a housing estate basically.
Wow.
So yeah, my advice
quite quaint in a way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different experience, but yeah, my advice would be either go into Nailsworth, which is just down the hill from Forest Green, where there's a few nice pubs and shops and whatever, or if not, if any Ipswich fans are coming by train, they'll end up in Stroud, which again, is an actual town with pubs. So yeah, don't get to the ground too early. I mean, facilities aren't amazing. There's a little bit with a covered roof and a bit of seating, but that's only a few seats. The rest is all standing open air terrace. So hope for no summer showers either. It'll be an interesting experience. Yeah.
You've lost Nicky Cadden. Talk to us first about the big departure. How much of that is that really going to hurt, and how much was it expected?
That's the thing. It doesn't hurt because it was expected, and that it was the big three that were out of contract this summer: Evu Adams, Kane Wilson, and Nicky Cadden. And the Cadden situation has dragged on for quite a long time. Obviously, he only got announced at Barnsley 2 days ago, so
he did, yeah.
There was a little bit of hope. The director of football at the end of May was saying there's a contract offer on the table for him, and we're quite hopeful that he's going to accept it. But Forest Green announced a new first choice left wing back about 3 weeks ago now, so it has been expected. He's a big loss. Himself and Kane Wilson, easily the best wing backs in League Two last season. They got incredible amount of goals and assists from wing back, but in truth, Rovers fully expected it, and there have been big losses this summer, across the board, and people will look at that and go, Forest Green have lost a key player here, but none of it's unexpected at all. Every Forest Green fan knew it was going to happen to all three of the big players. So in a way, it's always you've been able to mentally prepare yourself for it and be able to move on.
You've brought 8 players in, so you have been busy on the recruitment side of things. You've brought in Oliver Casey on loan from Blackpool, Reece Brown on a free following his release by Huddersfield, Harry Boyes, obviously, who we've spoken about from Chelsea United on loan, and midfielders Cole McAllister and David Davis, in addition to Torquay midfielder Armani Little. Who are you most excited about?
That's a good question. I think Reece Brown is one that Forest Green fans are really excited about, because Forest Green had him between 2017 and 2019, and Reece Brown arrived, big reputation from Birmingham. He was capped at a lot of sort of England youth levels, and he arrived in first season at Forest Green, the 17-18 season. He really struggled, just a few goals, showed glimpses of talent, but never really any sort of consistency. And then the next season, he just blossomed into a man, basically. And I think scored 10 goals and got 14 assists in that League Two season, and was poached by Huddersfield. He's been there for the last 2-3 seasons, but he's just not played a game, and he's been getting game time out on loan at Peterborough. But now he's back at Forest Green. He's still only 26, so still got a bit of developing to do. But hopefully, Forest Green have got a better player than the Reece Brown they sold to Huddersfield 3 years ago. And I think Armani Little as well is somebody who Rovers fans are really excited about. Midfielder from Torquay, I think it was 15 goals and 10 assists for him. 15, in the National League last season, and. It's a proper Forest Green recruit. They like recruiting players from non-league. I think he lots of clubs were interested in him, but I think he scored in every pre-season game so far. He looks like, he takes shots from range, really good ability from dead balls. Player Birchnell really likes, because he scored a hat-trick against Birchnell's Notts County last season. So yeah, I think those two, both sort of advanced midfielders, will probably be playing just behind the striker or strikers. So yeah, I think Brown and Little in particular are exciting additions.
But do you expect it to change now Cadden's not there, or do you think simply, is it Harry Boyes you've signed? Is he the wing back that's replacing Cadden? Is he going to slot straight in?
Yeah. Harry Boyes looks like a really good addition. Played a lot of games for Solihull last season. Sort of my first choice for that left wing back spot. Looks like he's ready for a season at Football League level. Young, got good delivery, good technical attributes. In terms of how Forest Green are going to play next season, it's a different manager now. Ian Birchnell coming in. It looks like he's going to stick with three at the back, so the shape will be mostly the same, and that will help the remaining players from last season. It will probably be a bit more possession based, I'd say, based on his time at Notts County, Birchnell's time at Notts County. So it's difficult to say as to how much it will change, but I think largely the same. And a lot of what Forest Green base themselves on is continuity, and that's sort of, they lost Rob Edwards, but Birchnell, three at the back, possession based, good with young players, so they're sort of just continuing along that sort of road.
Largely the same, possession based. Even though you're in League One for the first year, you still expect that to be how Forest Green come out and like to set their stall up. Possession, and largely the same as last year, where you were a dominant team.
Yeah, I think they'll be brave next season, Forest Green. I really do. We played Swansea and Coventry in the last few days in behind closed doors games. So obviously we haven't been able to watch them, but the opposition managers and players have been saying they're a good team. They just play out from the back, and we try and press them. I've got no doubt Forest Green will probably lose some games like 5-4-0 next season, because they'll probably get caught out doing it at teams who are good at stopping it. But I predict there to be a lot of goals in Forest Green games next season, because I think they will be attacking. They'll stick to their beliefs, and that means they will ship a few goals. But I think they'll give it, they'll give life in League One a real good go. They're not here to make the numbers up. I think Birchnell at Notts County, it was really possession based. They made a hell of a lot of passes, and most possession in the league by a country mile. And I don't think just because Forest Green are a small fish in a big pond, I don't think that will change.
So three at the back. Is it two up front, one up front with two behind? How do you set your stall up attacking?
Yeah, so last season was one behind two strikers, and the two strikers were really potent last season. Jamil Matt, who finished with 19 league goals, and Matty Stevens, who I think finished with 23 and 27 in all competitions. Matty Stevens did his ACL towards the end of last season, and he's going to be out until about Christmas. So Forest Green currently have two recognised strikers in Jamil Matt and Josh March, who came on and scored the title-winning goal for Forest Green last season. But there's no doubt that whilst I think most of the recruitment is done, they need a striker. Jamil Matt, I think is 30, will be 33 soon, and you're asking him to do 40 plus games in League One might be a bit of a stretch. And Josh March, whilst he's such a hard worker and he scored some really important goals for Forest Green, wasn't a first choice in League Two, so he's not going to be in League One either, I wouldn't expect. So there's definitely needs to be some at least one recruit in that area of the pitch. But yeah, it looks like it could be the same in terms of one behind two strikers, or it could be two behind one as well. I guess we'll wait and see. Forest Green weren't looking to recruit a manager this summer, but obviously Rob Edwards, I think 3 or 4 days after Forest Green won the league, was poached by Watford, and Forest Green were forced to recruit, and Ian Birchnell was always the club's first choice. They had to wait until the National League playoffs had ended, because obviously Birchnell guided Notts County to the National League playoffs, and they were actually knocked out straight away by Grimsby in extra time. So that did Forest Green some favours, because they could just get him through the door straight away. Yeah. But 2 days after they got knocked out, they got on the phone and said, let's make this happen. And 2 days later, he was announced. So that did them some favours. But yeah, he's had a really interesting career path, basically, Birchnell, because he's got no playing career behind him. He didn't start coaching until he was, I think, 22, with the where he coached the Leeds University team, and
Oh, really?
and then he sort of coached really sort of young age groups at Leeds and Bradford, and just sort of ended up making a bit of a name for himself. And he's got lots of good experiences on his CV, because he's been out to Sweden, managed Östersunds just after sort of Östersunds beat Arsenal in the Europa League quite famously, and then he went in just after that. He's been at Viking as well in Norway, and then he got his chance at Notts County. I think that would have been March last year, and whilst he didn't get Notts County promoted in what is a very tough National League nowadays, he did play a very good style of football. They got lots of plaudits, scored a lot of goals, saw a lot of the ball, and Birchnell's basically earned himself his opportunity from that. I know the director of football at Forest Green went to watch Notts County a few times last season, so always had a sort of a feeling of what Birchnell could sort of bring to the table, and basically just looks like he'll stick to his beliefs. There'll be an attractive style of football, and sounds like he's sort of good at coaching young players as well, because he's not had any playing career, so he's not been hired by any clubs because of that. So he's really had to sort of work his way up, which proves that he must be a very good coach, I guess. Bristol Rovers, very, very similar to us, really. They were outstanding in the second half of last season. I think, probably from an outsider's perspective, like, fans of League One clubs, I think they probably expect Bristol Rovers to do the best out of the 4 promoted clubs, just because, I think they've been at this level before, and it feels like, maybe they could have a bit of momentum behind them and be upwardly mobile. But yeah, I think it's a good first game for Forest Green. It's the ground they won promotion at last season, so definitely going to be a bit of spice to it. Only sort of around 30 miles, I think, separating the two clubs. It's not a derby. It's not really a rivalry, but it is a local game. And I think whilst there's quite been a fair amount of stability at Bristol Rovers. I've heard Joey Barton said that they still want to recruit up to 7 players. So maybe there will be an opportunity. On that first game. Forest Green seems to have a very settled squad. Maybe they could just sort of exploit Bristol Rovers still sort of, need to get things done in the transfer market.
Got Rovers first day. You've then got us as your opening fixture at home. Then you've got Lincoln away, Stanley at home, Plymouth at home. That's your first 5. Lincoln is away, I do apologise. Not the easiest of months to ease yourself in, because you've got, as we were saying before we started, obviously I would class us as a huge team. Lincoln, who only a couple of years ago were a playoff contender, new manager there, could be decent, who knows. Accrington Stanley, who are always a decent measuring stick of where you are as a team in League One, and obviously Plymouth had a great year last year. So as first 5 go, how do you feel about them?
Yeah, I think that's just League One, isn't it? You're right, it's not easy. But I've seen a lot of our fans said things like, "Oh, it's such a hard start." But then you look to the next month, and we've got Charlton and probably some other teams in there. The likes of, we'll still have Barnsley, Bolton, and Derby to come as well in the latter months. So every month's going to be a difficult one. We've got to embrace it. We absolutely have to enjoy it. There's new teams for us to face. Obviously, yourselves being one of them. So it is a difficult start. I've spoken to fans who have said stuff like, we're not getting more than 1 or 2 points from those first 5 games. They're terrible. But we'll just see how Forest Green settle in. There's winnable games in there, no doubt about it. Because we were in the same division as Bristol Rovers last season. Lincoln might be undergoing a bit of a transitional period, but then we faced the likes of yourselves, and as we've said just before we came on air, the 6th game is Sheffield Wednesday away. So we're combining games that hopefully we'll be able to get something from, and then facing these massive clubs, which is what we've ultimately come to League One for. Yeah,
as back-to-back games go, Plymouth and Wednesday. That's not the easiest of back-to-backs, but 15 points on offer. I'll ask you 2 questions with that 15 points. What do you expect to be the return, and what would be, in your book, a good return? 15's maybe unrealistic. Why not be? You might tell me otherwise, but what do you expect, and what do you think will be a good return?
It's a good question. It's a really difficult one. I think, maybe you take 6, possibly. Two wins and 3 defeats. Acknowledging the game against yourself will be really tough. The team with big history, big budget, etc. Great players, and then, but yeah, I think it's going to be a tough start. But I think take just a couple of wins in there, and then see whatever else comes. I think you look at the 4 teams that went up, last season: Cambridge, Cheltenham, Morecambe, and Bolton, and obviously all 4 survived, and 3 of them did with relative ease. Cheltenham and Cambridge were never really in trouble, and obviously Bolton pushed on towards the second half of the season and are now one of the favourites to sort of be right up there this season. So that mid-table, I don't know, maybe 16th seems to be the benchmark based on where Cheltenham and Cambridge finished last season. But for some reason, I don't know whether it's just pessimism because it's my club, Forest Green are in it, but it seems like it'll be tougher this season. I've found it quite difficult to, I haven't sort of sat down and taken a look through every team yet, but I found it quite difficult to think of just 4 teams off the top of my head who will, be relegated basically. So what would be a good season? I know, I don't think the club will set any expectations, because if they just say survive, then that they might do more than that, and I think they want the players to play with the ultimate freedom. But I think right now, I've predicted something like 17th, and would absolutely take that. To be honest with you, I'd take 20th, and surviving on the last day, it won't be good for the heart, but I think it's all about stabilising this season, and then pushing on into next season, and hopefully we can establish ourselves as a League One club in the next few years.
Yeah, obviously, survival is the minimum that you desperately want, and anything after that is a bonus. So I completely understand that, and you think you're right. I think you nailed it actually, in terms of probably the most wide open in terms of top and bottom. I think there's a lot of teams at the top who could or should, and at the bottom there's no longer a team or two that you think they were lucky last year to even be in the division, so they're going to be weak again this year. I think a lot of teams have done well, strengthened, and could rebound. So yeah, great stuff. Laurie, it's been a real pleasure to sit down with you. Thank you so much. Where can people find you to get Forest Green Rovers updates and everything else? I saw an account posting a goal a day until the Forest Green Rovers kick off. I love that. I love seeing those. They're brilliant.
Yeah, I think that was probably an idea nabbed off someone else, but yeah,
great. I love it.
You can find me on Twitter at LaurieMartin263, and then the podcast account at the FGR Pod on Twitter as well.
Laurie, thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.